Yummy today. My voice sounds very sour. I have not warmed up my voice in such a long time. I feel so terrible. Hope you can hear me because obviously this is kind of low today. I don't even know. Honestly, it is a bit difficult to move this tripod. Anyways, I hope you're all having a fantastic Monday. Now, I want to talk about something that happened last night. Horror night. Because last night, brushed my teeth. I went on the bed just on my phone, and then all of a sudden, I felt something wet in my nose. I was like, okay, that's strange. I just passed it off as something like snot, but then it started like coming out a lot, and I was like, okay, let me wipe my nose. And I used an old ragged face cloth, and since the face cloth is red, when it's dark, it looks dark red, and it can be wet with anything. So I kept, putting it in my nose, making sure to see if it's blood or not. And then I just kind of, rubbed just kind of like smudged some blood on my hand. And then I was like, okay, it's blood. It's definitely blood because snot won't really drip like that. And I was like, oh my goodness gracious me. It happened so fast. It happened so fast. And this was like 7. This was just 7 o'clock. And that's what happened. My nose started bleeding crazy. It was just so crazy because I did not interfere with my nose before. My nose was perfectly fine. It just started pouring. And then after a while, it dried up. Did put some Vaseline. My mother put some oil on my head. But that was just the beginning of my horror night because last night was a very strange night. So after a couple of hours after my nosebleed, I decided to sleep. And as I slept, for some reason, having a full blanket on me was just too hot. It was too hot for some reason. It was too hot, even though I have inflammation on my ribs. It was so hot for some reason, and I kept pulling the blanket off. And then I just turned my head to a different angle, and my right ear was exposed because my right ear is basically a cleaned ear. I got it pumped a couple months ago, and I can hear stuff way better with this ear. And then all of a sudden, something happened. I heard buzzing, vexing buzzing, and then I realized, oh crap, it's a mosquito. And I was over there struggling to just sleep. It was too hot for me, and a mosquito was on the loose. I was so annoyed. And then I went to pee. I came back and I saw the mosquito on the wall. I took the same blood covered cloth and I tried to kind of kill it, but I could not because it was too fast. I even tried reaching my hand just to grab it, and unfortunately, I hurt my palm because I grabbed it so hard like that. And I was like, maybe I got it, maybe I did not get it, you know. Um, I was past, and then I woke up. I saw the mosquito on my mother's pillow. I tried to reach it. I tried like just to kind of quickly get it, but it was too fast for me. I was so annoyed. This entire arm, well, this part over here, itching, just itching, itching, itching. Even my hand, my right hand, itching. It was the worst night ever. It was so annoying. It was so annoying. I could not sleep properly. I slept pretty early. It wasn't late. It wasn't like freaking 12. It was pretty early. I tried my best to sleep, and unfortunately, the heat was too much. And here's the crazy part. After I went to pee and I came back, well, after I went to pee, that's basically the sentence. I I came back and I wasn't feeling so hot as before. So something was not right with my body that specific moment. I don't know what's going on. It was such a terrifying night. And then that's not the cherry on top. The cherry on top is basically I don't know how this happened correctly, but I just made a sudden movement and all of a sudden I just felt like my heart was not beating. That was so terrifying. I was so terrified, petrified, because how come my heart can just stop beating? It doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense unless I'm actually suffering with something. I wasn't scared at the moment. I was making some fast movements because of the stupid itchiness and I could not sleep. It was hot, but obviously that was terrifying. And now I'm still suffering with breathing. I'm still breathing very heavily. I'm not breathing well. I'm not breathing normally. Took my nasal spray, took my pump. I took those important things like 3 times now, and I'm still suffering. Honestly, I feel so annoyed. I feel so annoyed. All I wanted to do was sleep, and I ended up having the worst nights ever. Anyways, I want to talk about something else as well, something else a bit more light. On Saturday, I downloaded a Monster Hunter game, Monster Hunter Now. Some of y'all may have heard of this game. It is a Android and iOS game, and it's one of those games where you have to walk outside and do something, one of those type of games. And obviously, years ago, we all remember Pokemon Go having that style of gameplay. But of course, a lot of other games copied that. Well, not really copied. Copy is a wrong word. I think it's inspired. It's its own genre now, you know, because there's so many types of games where you have to walk around and do something. And I remember years ago there was a Jurassic World game with the same style of Pokemon Go. So it's basically now a genre of gaming rather than Pokemon Go having its own concept because we have to understand now a lot of games are kind of following that footsteps. And Monster Hunter Now is basically the same thing, but it's just you walk around, hunt monsters. It isn't so great for me personally because where I live, it's pretty dangerous. If I lived in a different country, in a different, safer country, I guarantee you I would have played the game a bit more. I played the game just for a small moment, and then for some reason, to complete the game, the story mode, like the beginning story mode, you have to walk out. And I'm like, oh my goodness gracious me, this is terrifying. This is literally terrifying. So I'm not going to risk my life for a game. I know it sounded a bit too much. I love Monster Hunter. I love Monster Hunter. I'm terrible at the games, but I love it so much. And I'm not going to risk my life for something like that. It is a very dangerous place where I live. Last year, my father was robbed of his phone, and that's the crazy part. I can't just walk around holding a phone and just trying to move around with through the roads. I think that's a bit dangerous. I think a lot of people can target me. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to just risk my life. It sucks how the game is like that. I rather have a separate game style, but unfortunately, they chose that game style. It isn't for me. It's unfortunately not for me. Anyways, okay. I expected the gameplay to be something like I don't know, Monster Hunter stories, but it wasn't like stories. It was something totally different, and it's just not for me. I am still suffering to breathe. I'm still suffering. I don't know what else to say. I would like to talk more about my different ideas I have for different concepts and stories and whatever, but anytime I open my mouth, nothing happens. Like, I have mentioned this years ago, couple years ago, 2019, I was mentioning all the concepts I want to do. I want to do crafting, I want to do cooking. Well, I started baking just a bit, but I wanted to do all of those things. It never happened. It never happened because something came down the line. That's why it's best for me not to say anything first before doing something. So it's best for me to say something like, it's like, okay, okay, my work is done. Let me show you my work. That's okay. But if the work is not done, why must I say anything? I think that's just going to cause a lot of hype, which a lot of people were hyped on so many of my content. I promised so many TG games. Some of you were really old on the channel, so yeah, some of y'all remember my promises. And honestly, I'm kind of glad I didn't rush with them because some of those concepts now have better ideas than than a couple years ago. They evolved better. They aged well with time. So sometimes it's best not to rush over with stuff. That's just it. That's what I learned. It sounds a bit too much because I am someone who just likes to rush. I'm someone who always wants to get things done for the sake of it. And that's kind of cool for important aspects, but not everything needs to be rushed. I'm afraid it's just something I should not do. Anyways, what else can we talk about? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just struggling with breathing. And yesterday I felt so useless. I felt so dull. I don't know if anyone else had this feeling before, but I felt dull first time in my life. Well, not first time. First time in a couple of months, I felt like nothing is important. Everything is disturbing. I normally don't really feel like that. I don't know how I felt, how it started, but I was just continuously watching these YouTube shorts and I never escaping. And I was like, what's going on? I'm trapped in a void. Oh my goodness, I need to get out of here. It just felt like I would never do anything at all. Never do anything, never succeed, never do anything. Couple months ago, I was talking about, making my books, getting stuff out. The problem is that my laptop broke. My laptop broke. I have a phone now, so I don't know what you can do with that, but my laptop broke. And that was the saddest part because I was so hyped up the morning before it broke. I was so hyped up. And all of a sudden, something happens. It just comes at the time where you're always happy. So sometimes you should not be happy. That's why I'm not mentioning anything. Because if I mention something, nothing will happen. So it's best for me not to mention anything. I know a lot of people would like to hear some of my interesting ideas, but it's best for me to just hold on, do something first, and then speak about it. It does not feel right anymore just to talk about it without having anything done. Speaking of games, have y'all heard of Unity? Unity, Unity, Unity. Hold on, let me bring my tablet. Let me bring my tablet. Okay. Okay, oh, okay. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. Let me bring my tablet so I can search stuff. I'm sorry about my voice. Okay, I'm sorry. So here's my tablet. Look how big it is. It feels big because my phone is like kind of slim, small. In fact, my tablet is just a few little inches more bigger. Okay, let's search. It just feels so strange to hold this. It feels like I've never touched this device at all. So we're going to search some stuff on Unity. Unity is a game engine which, surprisingly enough, I wanted to avoid. reason why I wanted to avoid it was because of the ESG. Now, I'm not going to deny that so many companies all over this world have ESG nonsense in it. But the only difference is that Unity was so thick with the ESG. It was like something you have to avoid. Okay, so what's going on? So a couple days ago, Unity made a change in policy about payments. Now, I remember when I was searching game engines, I read Unity's homepage, and it kind of worried me a bit because what they were bragging about was 50% of all video games were made on that specific game engine. So, as you can see, Unity has apologized for its install fee policy and says it will be making changes to it. Will it though? I don't know. I feel like this could be some kind of PayPal issue where PayPal basically they changed their policy of money, and who can basically technically use it because, well, anyone can use it, but they can withhold money from you if they deem your work offensive. So basically, if you believe something that goes against the narrative, too bad, they keep your money. That is disgusting. They're supposed to be a service. They have no right telling you how to make money because that is very disturbing. That's very, very disturbing. They're supposed to be a service. They are not supposed to be some kind of moral pin. So Unity has apologized for its install fee policy and says it will be making changes to it. So a couple months ago, no, 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 okay. Actually, it was a year ago. I saw Unity's own page, and they had mentioned that 50% of games worldwide were created with their engine. That's a lot of games. Most of these are Hindi games, but it doesn't change the fact that a lot of important games were made with this. Games like Among Us, for instance, even though Among Us is not that popular anymore, you know, that game was made on Unity. Unity was seen as this indie friendly uh, game engine. So, okay, Unity has apologized for the confusion and angst the runtime free policy. It's announced last week. It's announced last week has caused and has revealed it will be making changes to it. So, look at this tweet over here. We have heard you. We apologize for the confusion and angst the runtime fee policy we announced on Tuesday caused. We are listening, talking to our team members, community customers, and partners, and we'll be making changes to the policy. We will share an update a couple of, okay, basically, it continues. And in a couple of days, they will show an update. They'll basically update it. So the Unity runtime fee policy is set to go into effect on January 1st, 2024, next year, and would charge 20 cents per install any game with more than 200 installs. Now, I remember this, remember the old policy for some reason. They were about to charge you like to something. Like, no, they only charged you a certain amount if you made over 1 million in sales. So 1 million sales you'll have to pay. But other than that, you don't have to. Of course, you have to buy the license. Of course, you have to purchase that license. But when it comes to, you know, the fee for having like 1 million in sales, then you had to give them something. That's what I remember, unless I'm mixing it up with Unreal Engine. Okay, 20 cents per any game with more than 200,000 installs. This obviously raised a lot of eyebrows as the term install is in today's age a bit hard to put down. For example, will devs get charged for multiple installs from those who install, uninstall, and reinstall their games, even though there is no charge to the consumer after the monthly fee? Do Xbox Game Pass or PlayStation Plus installs account? Saying it will only count net new installs, so any devices starting January 1st, and devs would not be paying fee on reinstallations. Fraudulent installs via botnets and the like trial version, web and streaming games, and charity related installs. Unity also claimed that 90% of customers will not be affected by this change. The development community did not take kindly to these proposed charges and clarifications, and many teams across the globe, including Rust 2 developer Facepunch Studios, said they won't be making their games in Unity. Now, others like Massive Monster threatened to delete its Unity made game Cult of the Lamb. Cult of the Lamb was this game that I think came out last year, right? Or this year? Last year. It was this game where you create your own cult. It was a 2D game, and it seems that it was made on Unity. Obviously, not my style of game because I'm not really into that type of stuff. You know, these days, like, you know, making a cultish game, making anything with like scenes of the devil, it's just cringy now. You know, like anything where you have to create a cult or whatever, it seems cringy. It's just not for me anymore. Like the entire concept of 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 you could say just being evil is ridiculous. I'm so tired of it. Everyone wants to be evil. No one wants to be nice. So it's not my type of game. It is a video game after all, so nothing changes in the world. But overall, not my style of game. But threatening to delete the game. Why? Why delete the game in its Unity made? Okay, is it delete the game from the Unity store, or is there a Unity store? I don't know. Should these changes happen? So if it happens, then they deleting the game. The pushback got so severe that Unity offices in San Francisco, guys, and Austin had to close due to what called a credible death threats. We will obviously continue to follow the story. Okay, basically, that's from IGN. So I think that it's crazy. Okay, let me read this article from The Verge. The Verge. Okay, I don't read a lot from The Verge. I forgot they existed. When you think of articles, you think of New York Times, New York Post. You don't think of The Verge. The game developers affected by Unity's new pricing model are striking back. A collective of developers across 19 companies, sorry, companies, mostly based in Europe and mostly developing mobile games, has put out an open letter urging Unity to reverse course on its recently announced pricing model changes. The letter contains some of the same sentiments expressed by other developers this week, but with one big twist. As a cost of immediate action, our collective of game development companies is forced to turn off all Iron Source and Unity ad monetizations across our projects until the changes are reconsidered. So essentially, these companies, which represent thousands of games with billions of downloads, have blocked Unity from making any more money in their games. Some of the companies represents in the letter include Voodoo.io, Azure Games, and Say Games, with each claiming over 100 games. There have been numerous messages from developers urging the company to reverse course. Others have threatened to never use Unity again or port their existing projects to other game engines. And here's the thing, my best advice is to always have your eggs in different baskets. Always have other types of game engines, because I remember just reading the way Unity bragged about having 50% of games made from their engine. Okay, it's a good engine, but to make everything on Unity doesn't seem right. It does not seem right. There are so many other engines, CryEngine, Unreal Engine. There are a lot of others as well, but overall, just making everything in Unity won't seem right, or just making anything um, in just one engine does not seem right. At the heart of the matter is the news that Unity will be updating its pricing structure to charge developers for each installation of a Unity game after specific download and revenue thresholds are met. Though Unity assert that only 10% of its users will be affected, it is still unclear how Unity intends to track installs and how it intends to differentiate a valid install from an invalid one. Beyond monetary concerns, developers are also angry because the new pricing represents a breach of transparency Unity established with regards to its terms of service. People read the terms of service. I don't. It is common for companies to often change their terms of service. So they did basically change it in 2019. And I remember something happened about Unity in 2019, but I completely forgot. So overall, Unity runtime. Okay, subject to payment of applicable fees. If any, you may distribute the Unity runtime as integrated part of your project solely as embedded or incorporated into your projects and solely to third parties to whom you license or sell your projects. Okay, I'm not reading this full stuff, but overall, overall, it's not something good to do when you just have one game engine. That's why it's good to kind of have a lot of game engines. Sometimes some game engines use the same language, so I'm guessing you can still do the same stuff, right? You can still do similar stuff. Make sure you at least port something out. You know what I'm saying? It just feels so annoying now. It feels so annoying to just do stuff. Anyways, I guess that's it for today's live stream. To round up, sorry about my mistakes today. I'm making a lot of mistakes. My nose is blocked, my breathing is a problem. Um, I was going to say something important, but first I found something. Hold on. I just saw this. I saw this online. I mean, online. I saw this on the floor. My hairband. What was it doing there? I don't even know. Anyways, I want to be very honest. The Unity stuff is terrifying for many people. A lot of people have their lives tied to earning money from Unity, basically because they built their full game with Unity. Unity seemed very trustworthy for many people, very indie friendly, very good for people starting off. Unfortunately, it isn't the case now, and that sucks. That really sucks. I don't know what else to say about this, but all I can say is do not have your eggs in one basket because stuff like this can happen. So there are plenty of game engines out there, and there are some good ones, there are some bad ones. There are some good ones, but they just lack certain porting stuff, like Godot. Godot is a very interesting one. It's open source. Anyone can stick their fingers into it, but the problem is that you cannot really make console games so well. You know, like you have to ask a different company to port your game over, which sounds ridiculous. You know, because if you just want to sell your own game, why Why have other companies do it? You can earn more money if you just do it yourself. Then you have to use other types of engines. So that's the problem. But overall, tell me, what do you think? Anyways, I have to go. Have a wonderful Monday. Bye.